Don't be a PB dickhead. So welcome to episode 115.
114.37.
Oh, you tried a 7.5 on there, it just feels better, doesn't it? For the Passion Fit Coaching Podcast. So I have gone for this one with this topic this week.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing it really, to be honest with you. I'm just...
So I thought about doing it on my own,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's quite funny because I thought you might actually help to balance me out this week with it.
Well, you're sad, I'm ranty, so we'll see how we go.
I am. I did say when we were talking about it, I was like, I am sad.
Yeah, imagine everybody's depressed at the end of this. Whereas if I
crying.
rant, then I'll be angry. So,
so you could go one or two ways with this one today, but we're going to talk about the PB culture that we see, not just in sport, but it also applies to life as well. And I'm really fortunate where...
by PB we mean personal best.
A personal best.
Personal best
What
culture.
else does it stand for?
I don't know, but I thought I'd better clarify that just in case.
Peanut butter.
It could be peanut butter, that's true actually. It could be peanut butter.
To be honest, it'd be easy enough to do like a whole topic, like a podcast on peanut butter. It would
A
be
peanut butter culture would be something we wouldn't be ranting about.
No, I'd embrace that. So with Melon, she loves peanut
So
butter.
just to be clear, it's not peanut butter culture,
It's not
it's
peanut butter.
personal best culture.
Or any other abbreviation for PB, it is personal best.
I don't think there are any others.
Well, I don't know. If you've got them, let us know.
I think PB is the abbreviation. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the reason that I wanted to do this topic is we're starting to get into the point for our like sort of triathlete and sports related listeners where the spring is starting to come around and people are starting to think forwards to...
Actually, I think spring's coming around for everybody.
Oh my God. Is this just going to be this for the podcast? I've just done this on my own.
If you're not a triathlete listener, then you're not about to experience spring. You are in a different time continuum to everybody else. So spring is coming around for everybody, but for athletes, it has significance.
When I went to Loughborough, we only did like geography as a sport, so we only did that in relation to like the meteorological seasons.
It's amazing. You've got a master's in geography.
Water science.
Water science.
Okay, so can I continue?
Yes. I will just keep correcting you. If you make
I feel like this could be a
faux
really, really short but very
pas. I
long
haven't got
podcast.
anywhere yet.
No, I know. So you've lost me with my flow now. Because
You were saying that spring was coming, and you said it was just for athletes, and I clarified everybody was experiencing spring.
Okay, we are starting to get to the point where the race season is nearly upon us.
It is.
For anyone doing any form, and mostly like endurance sports and quite a few team sports as well. And there's an ever-growing narrative. So I'm really fortunate that I get the opportunity to chat to loads of people every single week, particularly when they come in for their bike fits with me. And I've also seen just generally on social media, there is this ever-growing culture and this feeling at the time of the year about people talking about the things that they'd like to do, maybe in relation to like the goals they've set themselves, races they've entered or thinking of going to. And there seems to always be this justification around it of needing or wanting to chase a PB for it. It's never ever, I can't really think of many conversations that I've had where there hasn't been some form of like time-based justification to them going off and doing it. And that for me is a bit worrying. Like I had like a message the other day and someone was talking about loads of things that they've got coming up this year. And it was just about this continual hunt of this race, I think I can go in PB here, I'm going to go to this race, I'm going to go in PB here. And it wasn't ever, no one ever talks about the love for what they're doing in relation to just that process and letting everything else ensue. It's always that external validation, potentially, that people are looking for about, I'm going to go and do this and I want to PB, or just putting that really, really objective time measure between that's going to be a good time if I go and do this in this amount of time. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to have that sort of like goal or like metric associated to your journey, but I think it's just becoming too commonplace with people having to put that against anything they're doing and not really thinking about, is that really something I truly want? What's that actually going to give me, if anything? And also, how do I get to that? no one kind of says, right, okay, I've got this idea in my head, I would like to go and do this. I think based on everything I know, this is realistic or maybe like attainable for me to do. This might be aspirational. That's kind of like locked and loaded into one side, and then step back and say, but these are the things that I'm really going to focus on. Like, I'm really only going to focus on my sleep and see where that leads me. And no one's bragging about the boring PBs around their sleep and their recovery and consistency. Everyone's only bragging about the PBs that relate directly to a race performance. And that's the bit that's getting me sad, is just that piece of wanting to go and deliver a certain time at a certain event and not actually then taking it back to what really matters to be able to go and achieve potentially that. That's why I'm sad. Why are you ranty?
Well, just to say that you are right, that's a short podcast. That's 10 minutes. We're done.
No.
Are we done?
No.
No, we're not quite. The bit that I found most interesting about what you just said was at the beginning, where you said you're very fortunate to meet lots of people every week, which isn't true at all, because you actually really hate people. So,
That's not fair.
no, you do like people.
I do like
It's just
people.
tiring,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. But that's also
People
why
are tiring.
People are tiring.
People are tiring. Yeah, I mean, I say there's not much more to add, but I'm sure I'll find plenty to add. It's not just about PBs, is it? It's about the whole performance culture. People seem to be, we seem to live in an environment, a world where people don't seem to be comfortable with, or they don't seem to be satisfied with their journey, or they don't feel like they're achieving anything, or they're not trying to achieve things if they aren't constantly trying to improve their performance level. And it feels like people are short of, or don't understand how to validate themselves through who they are and the way they conduct themselves through life, and therefore look to performance-orientated measures as a way of validating their worth. And that's how it feels to me. And you're right, the PB culture is definitely a representation of that. You know, when you look at parkrun, is a classic example. Is parkrun was originally designed to get people active.
Yeah.
It was designed as something that was not meant to have any performance element to it at all, from what I can remember. I mean, it's such a long time ago.
It was just mass participation, wasn't it?
Yeah,
to get
that was
people
it.
active and
Yeah.
doing something together.
Yeah,
on Saturday
absolutely.
morning.
Yeah. And when you talk to people about parkruns, invariably the conversation is around either how many parkruns they've done,
Yeah.
or how fast they've done them, or how much better they've got at doing them. Nobody talks about what they get from being part of what parkrun was originally designed to be, which was about camaraderie and healthy habits. It's become, or it started to represent as many toxic traits as any other sporting activity, where people are doing it. So it feels like if you can see why people would now be concerned about getting into parkrun, or if they went to parkrun and they were last, they'd be uncomfortable about it. Or if they weren't getting better, they wouldn't feel comfortable, because people often ask the question about that to people. Oh, what's your PB? Yeah. What's your parkrun PB? People often feel compelled to tell us about their parkrun PBs, don't they?
Yeah.
When we meet people to talk about their race history, they are compelled to tell us about how fast they have or haven't gone.
Yeah.
So either
how fast they want to go.
Yeah, how fast they have gone, or if they don't feel that how fast they've gone in a race is impressive enough based on how they've been conditioned to think, or what they've been conditioned to think impressive is like, they then often justify why it's not. So they might say, well, I've gone X speed at a half Ironman,
mm-hmm.
and it would have been, but because it wasn't because
Yeah.
of something not to do with them. And then they go on to tell us how fast they do want to go. When you are, it's very rare that you meet somebody and you say, well, why do you want to go that fast? They can give you an answer.
Yeah.
They can almost never give you an answer. It's just, that's what they think they need to say, or it's what they think they need to think, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's because that's how we're conditioned to go about things, and it's really damaging, because what happens is in the pursuit of performance often takes us away from the pursuit of personal growth and personal development. So what we end up doing is we end up getting distracted by the things that we're told will help us perform better. And actually, if we just look at personal growth and personal development, in a focused and targeted way, will almost naturally see the performance look after itself. Now, I've been interested, I don't know if I mentioned this on one of the last two podcasts, I've started watching a documentary called about Tom Brady on BBC.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, I've talked about this a lot. I've been getting into NFL. One of our clients is really into NFL, and he's really helping me with some of my understanding of it and signposting me to resource of interesting documentaries. And but I don't know much about the history of American football and the players, and I've started getting into it in an era post Tom Brady and the Patriots, or Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers actually as well. And I'm listening to Brady commentate on the American football, and he came in for quite a lot of criticism, or at least the broadcaster came in for quite a lot of criticism for including him in the broadcasting team as the colour commentator. And personally, I really like listening to him, but I didn't know much about him. And I'll be honest, I fell into the trap of assuming that he would have an element of narcissism about him. An element of performance-driven mindset and attitude. And watching this documentary, I've actually only watched the first 2 episodes, and the reason for that is because I think you should watch it.
Yes.
And we're about to go away on a training camp, so we're going to save it for that.
With my notebook.
Yeah. But what I've been absolutely blown away by is how, for me it's really great, because what I feel like I'm witnessing is somebody talking about and having lived the journey that we're trying to encourage people to live.
Yeah.
But I've been surprised, and he appears, certainly as far as I've got with this, what's really interesting is how he does not care about performance. Of course he does, but his objectives only ever seem to have been to make the most of every opportunity he has. As simple as that. And whatever the outcome is the outcome. So when he eventually started for the Patriots in place of the injured quarterback, Bledsoe?
Yes, that was it, because I've seen episode 1.
Who I know nothing about either, really. He only ever looked at the job he needed to do. So he felt very duty bound to say, right, okay, my job is to make sure that I don't let the team down between now and when Bledsoe's fit again.
Yeah.
And when Bledsoe was fit again, he was very much, okay, well, if I now get dropped, I get dropped. But my fulfillment and my sense of accomplishment comes from knowing that I've taken my opportunity and done the best I can possibly do with the opportunity that I have. And I know that I've made sure that I've done everything I possibly can to fulfill my contractual obligation and duty to the New England Patriots to fill in for Bledsoe. And what's really interesting is, as a result of that mindset and attitude, it led to him keeping his place.
Yes.
And of course, we know from history, he's gone on to be the most, or the winningest quarterback in the history of American football, with 7 Super Bowl titles.
I think so.
6 for the Patriots and 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. People will have different opinions on him, but you could argue that, when you talk about the GOAT, the greatest of all time, we think about people like Roger Federer, Tom Brady. There might be we might think about people like Pele. Rafa Nadal, Djokovic, I suppose, should be in that conversation probably too. Michael Jordan. I don't know who else. Usain Bolt. I don't know. Difficult to say, isn't it? There's going to be lots of sports. Those are all men. That's bad, isn't it?
They are actually, aren't they?
Yeah. Martina Navratilova.
Serena Ledecky.
Ledecky, that's a good one. Serena Williams as well. So that just shows you how easy it is to get drawn into that bias, isn't it, as well? Anyway, but the more I always knew about Tom Brady potentially being that person, and from my perspective, based on the very, very limited knowledge I had, I would always have put him alongside someone like Federer. Where they had a Nadal, where they sort of have a bit of everything. They have that unbelievable level of performance, but there's an element of class about who they are as people, and you feel like they could have got as much fulfillment from a lower performance level. And interestingly, at the end of Federer and Nadal's career, the bit that seemed to matter more to them was never playing against each other again.
Yeah.
And that just shows. So you can hear a bit of dog barking in the background. I don't quite know what's going on.
I think there's probably someone else.
Someone outside the window. So, but what's really interesting is the more that excuse me, I think we need to be quiet. Okay. Yes? Good. Okay. So, what's really interesting is the more that I find out about Tom Brady, the more inclined I am to put him alongside those individuals, but perhaps even more so, put them on another level, because you could argue that American football is the most competitive sport to be part of in the world in terms of the minute margins between getting into being an NFL player and not. Are there any other sports where the margins are that small? I don't know. It's probably hard to think that there is. You've then got the most competitive sport probably in the world, with then arguably the most competitive position. So just becoming an NFL quarterback is an almost unfathomable achievement in itself. To do that and to then get to one Super Bowl is an incredible achievement. To win 7 is
next level.
And to play for 20 years. I mean, was he 45? I think when he retired. Yeah. It's just impossible to imagine. The perception I have is that he never had any goals about being the greatest. He never had any object. I mean, he was drafted 199th.
Yeah.
And on paper, he was terrible, right? And he never seemed to. That wasn't. He never, like, you hear so many elite athletes say, "I want to be the greatest of all time." I heard it the other day. Who was it who said it the other day? My goal is to be the greatest of all time, and it really worried me. And you never hear him say that. That was one of his objectives. His objectives just to make the most of his opportunity, to unlock as much of his potential as he possibly could, and do it with integrity and empathy and humility and all those things. And that's why he was so loved, I guess, by his teammates as well. And even now he's retired from the sport, and he doesn't appear to be lost.
No.
He's just commentating, and he's in some quite funny commercials, doesn't take himself too seriously, because he's just passionate about being having the best life he can have and making the most of whatever opportunity he has. Of course, he knew that his footballing career would come to an end, and now he's just making the most of the next thing. And it's just incredible to hear someone who arguably is the greatest athlete in the history of sport to talk in that way. And this message just doesn't seem to filter down. Does it?
No, it doesn't. And this is what this is why I got a bit sad, is because I've seen a few examples.
That was all my enthusiasm, and now we're going back to sad.
Oh no, sorry. No, it's just I was going to bring
Inside Out, isn't it?
I was about to say that. No, it's just more I've seen so many people. The other day I had in really, really lovely person for a bike fit, and I did actually stop. Oh, sorry. Sorry. We just haven't got mascara on.
We don't. We do have a box of tissues, don't we, that we used to use for your one-to-ones, So,
no, because it's not filtering down, because it's actually gone the other way. It's where you've got, say, the sort of elite performance athletes, all they're talking about is performance.
Well, some aren't, but most are.
Yeah. And also you can see, afterwards, a lot of them are then getting lost with their journeys once they've retired from professional sport and can't do anything anymore. But the culture that's then filtering down is this desire to want to PB on everything. And I did ask someone the other day, when they were talking about their journey and things they'd like to go and achieve this year, I was like, well, why? And they stopped for a minute, because all the people they've been surrounded by is you need to go and do this, you should go and try and qualify and do this. And they stopped and they're like, well, actually, do you know what, that's a really, really good question, because I hadn't actually really thought about it. I've just been listening to everyone externally say that I should go and do these, because I've been doing the sport for a few years, and that should be the natural progression through. And that's what gets me. And then the other piece as well that I was going to add was, around one person you probably missed from your list actually is Marc-Andre, because that's...
Yeah, so Marc-Andre Leclerc. So Marc-Andre Leclerc is known as the Alpinist, or the film is the Alpinist. We've referred to this before, haven't we? So if you haven't seen it, watch it. We won't give you any spoilers. No spoilers, please. Okay, because you've dropped a spoiler a couple of times, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, Marc-Andre Leclerc was a climber, quite young, very different in terms of his social behaviour.
I thought he looked normal.
Yeah, different from typical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. Go on. So that's who he was.
And so for me, like he basically didn't have a phone. He lived in a stairwell with his girlfriend for a bit, and then they lived in a tent.
Yes.
And all he did was he just went from climb to climb.
Yeah.
And there was never any external, because he didn't have a phone and stuff like that. He was never there trying to show what he had done, how fast he had done them.
Yeah.
He just went for how can I climb this? How can I climb this better? And that was literally his journey, to the point where there started to be a little bit of traction on blogs about becoming, like, people asking, who is this Marc-Andre guy? Like, he's gone and done this and that and the other. He had no awareness that anyone was actually like talking about it, and the film crew found out about him and they went to try and find him, but he kept like going off under the radar.
They were trying to create a documentary where they kept disappearing. They kept losing track of him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Even after they gave him a phone, he left his phone somewhere.
Yeah, the fox stole it.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And
they found him in Alaska.
Yeah, so. They were literally trying to like track and find out where he actually ended up going. But he was never ever interested in like that external validation.
Yeah.
Oh, I've gone and done these climbs, and what he was scaling, how he was doing it was like unprecedented. Like he was basically a pioneer in the sort of climbs and how he was going about it. And that for me is like that most purest form.
But it's self-actualization, isn't it? It's what Maslow talks about in his hierarchy of needs. He's self-actualizing, and there's no need for recognition, is there? Interesting. And again, when you come back to the Brady thing, Brady and Marc-Andre are very similar.
Yeah.
And Brady managed to achieve remarkable status without ever trying to achieve status.
Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's quite amazing. But you're right, Marc-Andre Leclerc. And of course, there will be loads of unknown athletes out there that we don't know about simply because they aren't promoting themselves. Laird Hamilton is another one, the big wave surfer. You won't know about him, but he's another really interesting one. I remember 20 odd years ago, getting quite into his journey and understanding who he was. I'll tell you who was also like this, Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, that is a good shout.
I think.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have any, but there's a lot, you get a fair bit of this in the music industry, don't you? Like Kurt Cobain. Yeah, it was probably like this as well. People that have no interest in
being that like sell out of like Wembley.
Yeah, as we know, Ed Sheeran doesn't have a phone, does he? And his friends say it's a nightmare because they can never get hold of him. You have to email him. And wait for him to log on to his emails to get a reply. So, there are lots of examples of this, and I think, you're like I said, going back to what we were talking about at the moment, this PB culture, is it comes back to our development paradox model, which we won't talk about today, but we've talked about before, and you can find the episode on this, but we have a model for this, which is where the way that we talk about, particularly sport, but lots of things, even work, when we talk about, Heath Ledger famously said, people always ask you if you've got a house, a family, a good job. No one ever asks you if you're happy or fulfilled. He's another one, isn't he, who was like an absolute student of his craft.
Yeah.
He just wanted to do the best he could possibly do, not really interested in being famous. Obviously we know about his unbelievable performance in The Dark Knight and obviously other films as well. I always liked him in 10 Things I Hate About You. It was quite it's a bit of a guilty pleasure film, that one, for me, the societal narrative is always about getting promoted at work, levels of seniority, wealth, acquisition of material goods. People are always trying to impress or being impressed by those sorts of things. Maybe these days of social media, popularity, fame, and obviously performance. If you take sporting environments, people want to know how good you are at something all the time. No one ever asks you how much do you how much do you love running?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it that you get out of running? People. When you talk about somebody about what their running goals are or their triathlon goals are, no one ever says, well, I want to work on this and this and this because I feel like those are opportunities for me to learn more about the sport and to unlock a little bit more of my potential. I don't know where that'll take me, but I know if I do those things, I will unlock more potential. I'm really fascinated to see where I end up. They don't talk about that. They have these very specific, rigid goals around time, and quite often, sadly, because that outcome is the thing that will fulfill them, they're looking for the shortest possible route to that. Right, so they're missing the point entirely, and missing the opportunity entirely, because the opportunity is in the journey.
We had a really interesting conversation. It's underneath your chair.
It is. Yeah.
Last week, didn't we? You're not trying to think back now.
Yes, I am.
The one was interesting, so they were all pretty boring when you chatted to me. No, but like about my journey, and
because we have lots of talk conversations about that.
Yeah, I know.
What was the one last week?
More about so it's kind of in relation to this about like that identity piece and how that's like fluctuated like over time. And what I realised like after the conversation was over like my whole sort of almost like life journey.
Yeah.
I've gone from the thing to the thing to the thing, and my identity's always been built around that. So for example, like getting through like your exams, your degrees, and then your work, and then the athletic piece. And when that athletic piece also became attached to that performance piece, that's actually when, in terms of like how I felt about my journey and my value add in the world, I attached way too much to that.
Yeah.
Of like actually then being like a higher performing athlete, then started to become my identity. And as soon as the one time I didn't actually achieve that, that's when I then almost like spiraled and crumbled a bit. But actually when I look back at it, when I was at like my most like happiest and fulfilled was like pre Ironman Lanzarote in 2022, and
before you'd achieved any of this.
Yeah, before I'd achieved any of this.
I can't say it wasn't without its ups and downs.
Yeah, but that's never going. That's just steady state for me, I think. Isn't it? I think like we just have to work out what is like in relative terms like
I'm with you on that.
Steady state.
Yeah.
But that's like when. The only thing I was focusing on, I wasn't thinking about was I going to go and win the race.
No.
I wasn't thinking about what winning that would like mean or how it might feel.
No.
All I was focusing on every single day was, am I doing the absolute best I can?
Yeah.
And that was it.
My brain.
And it's exactly, and that's like the calmest I felt and the most happiest, and the rest just followed.
So what you're saying is that your identity wasn't attached to being Lydia.
Yeah.
And I can do this degree, and I can do this job, and I can do this sport, and I can use what opportunities that provides me with to keep building the best version of Lydia.
Yeah.
What your job was, if I can be better at this, it will give me a sense of self-worth and identity. Yeah.
It's almost like proving something.
Yeah.
Like,
whereas what
not just to myself, but to the world.
Yeah. Whereas what we should be doing is we should be saying, right, okay, so this is who I want to be. Either what can I choose to take part in that will help me to become that person? Yeah. Or can I use the thing that I'm doing that I maybe can't stop doing to become a better person? And we talked about this, didn't we, with our community this week because we talked a lot about ownership in our last 3-week seminars. Yes. We seem to be going down a bit of a rabbit hole with this, but I think it's quite important. We talked about it on a podcast ago.
Yeah, a couple of podcasts ago.
Episode 114 point.
Oh, don't.
What we were talking to them about was a lot of them. What I was really shocked about is how many of them had such a low level of ownership and commitment level at work. Yes. How transactional and existent their attitude was to their job, and I can't understand that because I mean I didn't hate my job, but I had no buy-in to the job that I was doing when I worked in the corporate world. So it's over 10 years ago now that I left, but gosh, nearly 11 years ago that I left. I was there for 17 years, so I'm it's too long.
Done the same.
Yeah, mad. And I'm not going to say I hate my job because that would be untrue, but I didn't agree with the values of the business that I worked for. I didn't agree with the ethical standards of what we were doing. I didn't have any excitement about the actual products that we sold. I'm not a very people person, so it's not like I enjoyed spending time with customers or staff even half the time. Some of my staff I did because they were cool, But what I realised is that even though I was there, and financially for a long time I was stuck. I was in a financial situation that meant I couldn't really walk away. And but what I realised was I'm here. So whilst I'm here, what can I do to, what are my opportunities for me to help develop who I am as a person and, feel that sense of self-worth and I understand what my identity is and build that identity as me whilst I'm here. Otherwise, what's the point? What are you going to do? Spend 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, which is probably what I was working, doing what? Being existent and just going through the motions at work. How stupid is that? Because those 50 or 60 hours a week that you are spending time doing something, you never get that back. I don't even know what percentage of your life is that.
Don't even know.
10 hours a day, is obviously nearly half a day.
Yeah.
You're probably talking about 70 or 80% of your waking time is spent there. So if you're just going to go and try and get to the end of that day every day, that's madness, because that literally means that literally is the definition of wasting your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really, to some extent, I don't think it really matters where you are. There's always an opportunity for you to do something. You look at the Brady situation when he was sitting on the bench. He still knew what he needed to be doing to make the most of his opportunity, which was sitting on the bench. I'm sitting on the bench, but there's still an opportunity for me to grow. And I took a similar approach myself when I got injured in the summer. It's like, okay, all right, this is not great by any stretch of the imagination, but it could be worse, and it presents me with a different opportunity to the one I thought I was going to have over the next few months. The opportunity is to, do various things that will help me again develop my self-worth, fulfillment, confidence, sense of identity, all those things. Because even though this is not ideal, this will never come again. This particular injury, this particular situation that I'm in won't ever happen again. So this situation presents a unique set of circumstances that I'm never going to get again. Every day is the same. And there are no people say, the job's boring, it's the same every day. Well, of course it isn't, is it? No. Because you might have an interaction with a member of your team that's different from other days. That might present an opportunity for you to learn about yourself or support them or help them. Al Pacino said, didn't he, the inches we need are all around us. And it's true, they are, but we miss them because we're fixated on the wrong stuff. And we're surrounded with this narrative, this performance narrative in life, whatever we talk about performance being, status, wealth, whatever it might be. And we forget that actually the thing that's going to make us feel fulfilled isn't going to be constantly striving towards that. And there's also a good chance we won't get there. And how many of you have got there, and then when you've got there thought, actually I don't feel any different.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens, isn't
exactly
it?
that.
And we work really hard with our coaches to develop them not to have post-race blues, because as soon as they finish a race, I mean as soon as they finish a race, I don't mean the next day, I mean as soon as they finish, they're thinking about, okay, well, what next then? Yeah. Not what race is next, what's the next thing I need to do on that journey? So I've finished a race, this is now another situation that I might not have experienced before, what am I doing with it? The next day, what am I doing with it, and so on and so forth. So, for example, with you, Lyds, you always go back and hand out medals at the end of races, yes. Don't you? If there's like a kids thing on after you try and join in, because that won't come around again. And your position as an elite that other people look up to won't exist forever. So your opportunity to do that with impact has a limited lifespan on it, and if you don't take that each time, you don't get it back. And it offers a development opportunity for you and an experience that's different from anything else. And that's the thing is, so our coaches aren't ever thinking at the end of a race, I feel rubbish now because it's over. PB. Yeah, I didn't PB, or I did PB, but now what? They're whatever the outcome, they're just thinking about, okay, well, what's next? And, are they as excited about the post-race evening? I don't know, maybe they are. And the next day they probably are. I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And so, but it takes time. to get to that point, doesn't it? Because the races, these moments in time that we're building towards aren't really what we're building towards. They're just another step in that journey of self-development and progression.
Seeing the actual like races, that defining day.
Yeah.
That's what I think there's too much emphasis on, and that's going to define me as a person.
Yeah.
Not about that whole longer term
Absolutely.
piece. And I think one of the coolest things like I saw, and we got the privilege of seeing last year, was one of our coaches finishing a 12-hour time trial.
Yes,
and
Roxy.
Yeah. This for me was like, it's nuts. I don't even know why you do it, but for me it was phenomenal because she's been going up and down like the A40 like between Monmouth and Abergavenny for flipping 12 hours. And
Lorry's going by her.
Lorry's going by her, like it'd been like hammering it down.
I was
like,
moaning about sitting on the curb watching
for 10 minutes. And when the 12 hours is up, they just stop. Like there is no red carpet, there is no finish line. You're just stopping on the side of a dual carriageway and then cycling to the next timekeeper. That is it. No one knows you've done it. All you know is your 12 hours is up and that's it. And it was phenomenal because that is totally intrinsic. And like even afterwards, like at the clubhouse at Raglan Football Club, which is an experience in its own right, no one was chatting about like how far they'd gone. There was just this really nice sense of mutual respect
for getting it done.
Camaraderie. The fact that they'd all been out there, like they're talking about like the conditions, like had they stopped, what had they had to eat, like all of those just bits of how they felt at different points in the day, the emotions they'd experienced, and it was so intrinsically focused, and no one knew that this was going on. Like it was just, and that for me says quite a lot about like the culture that there can be in sport. And I think where we're missing out on the opportunity, because it was just a real sense of that takes a lot to just be able to just stop on the dual carriageway. No one knows you've done it.
And watching Roxy go through a journey has been wonderful because this sense of fulfillment she's getting from this identity she's building for herself, rather than worrying about who she does and doesn't beat, which in the past has unfortunately been how she's been taught to think and worry about, is wonderful. It's really liberating her. And she's getting better because of it, because she's worrying about the stuff that does matter, not the stuff that doesn't. I watched, interestingly, last night, I watched the men's big air final, ski big air final at the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. We're recording this in February. And at one point, after the last guy completed his jump, the three guys who were in medal positions at the end of the second of three jumps were the three last to go on the last jump, and they couldn't get out. The podium was decided. So basically they all had a medal. They didn't know what medal, but they all had a medal. And a few very good skiers had missed out on medals who may have easily medalled. And what was really interesting is when the last guy finished, they were all standing at the bottom waiting for their results, not just the medalists but the other skiers as well, because they obviously know each other, and they were waiting for this guy's score to come up, not so much to see whether he'd picked them for gold, but they just wanted what he'd done, they all knew was exceptional, and they almost desperately wanted the judges to see what they'd all seen, even though it would have meant one of them not getting gold, because one of them had gone into gold position, and it would have meant him losing gold. And I said to Lauren when we were watching it, I said, they don't care, do they? They have got, you could see from their body language, said they literally don't care what medal they get. None of them give a shit about where they finished. What they care about is whether or not they've executed what they set out to execute, and they're trying to move the sport forwards. The fact that the Olympics happened to be on that day, it's just that it happens to be on that day. And the commentators were talking about this, they all like ride the same wave of buzz and enthusiasm. So as one of them does well, they all start to do well. It's like they're all moving forwards together because they're not trying to beat each other. They're just trying to put down their best jump, and whatever that is, it is. And some of them go for bust because they're trying to nail it. I think not because they're trying to get gold, and it annoys me because the commentators are, you've got to go for it because you've got to go for gold. I'm thinking, I don't think any of these lads are going for gold. I think they just know that they've got a trick in their bag, a jump in their bag, and they want to try and put it down. Because they want to know it can be done, and everybody wants to know it can be done. And when the guy that got silver in the end put his jump down, it was the penultimate jump of the day, everybody celebrated with him. All of the guys that he'd just beaten were as excited about it as he was, because all they cared about is, oh my God, that's now possible. Now we can all see how you can do that. We can all have a go. And that's just amazing. There just appeared to be no one seemed to appear to give a toss about whether they did or didn't win gold. And if you contrast that with, now, if I've got my facts wrong here, then so be it. But if you contrast that with the snowboard cross, where the British girl won gold in the mixed competition, but didn't get the result she wanted in the solo competition, my understanding is that she didn't celebrate the mixed gold win, despite it surpassing their potential and being wonderful execution of a team event, because she was still bitter about the fact that she hadn't won the gold she wanted. And I just do you remember, it's like when, I think it was Joe Marler took off his winner's medal on the podium of the Rugby World Cup, it's like, I'm not sure about that. Back in the 1980s when, I think Seb Coe did it, when he got beaten by a vet over the 800. Back then the world was a bit different. We didn't understand as much about a lot of things. It wasn't okay, but you kind of get it a bit more. But these days, I think that represents a real misunderstanding of how life should be. So you're right. This PB culture is frustrating. People not understanding what the real opportunity is in their journey, even if that is doing parkrun. The focus should be on, okay, do I have more potential? Not to get faster, but to get better, to improve at running. And what does that look like? And, it probably doesn't look like carbon shoes. It might, but maybe what I'll do is I'll work on all the things that will get me to the point where maybe carbon shoes are a sensible option. When I get to that point, I'll then decide if I want them. I remember this years ago with my own triathlon journey. I remember slowly waiting to buy certain kit. It wasn't like a deal I made with myself. It's like, right, well, I'm not going to buy, an aero helmet yet, because, I'm not at the stage where that's going to be a value. It's going to make a difference to me. So I'm not going to spend the money on it. I'm not going to kid myself that it's changing something. And I actually felt uncomfortable, even though I was a bit better than a lot of people wearing that kind of kit. Same with the disc wheel. It's like, do I really need this? Am I really good enough to get benefit from it? It's not about spending the money, not spending the money. It's like, is it actually something I should be doing? Does it actually represent self-betterment and growth? Or am I just buying something because I think it will make me faster because that's what the marketing tells me? And am I at the point where if I get it, I can actually see where learning how to use it provides a growth opportunity.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Does it?
Yeah.
Am I that clear? Okay.
It does, yeah.
Which is not what people do. They'll just say things like, if I get a disc, will I be faster?
Yeah.
A disc wheel. If I get an aero helmet, will I be faster? And not, if I bought an aero helmet, what opportunities would that present to me then about learning, development, growth, etc. And I know it sounds weird, but there are loads. How to hold yourself on the bike, how to understand how to, make use of that position, how to maximise your position around the helmet, even just a basic understanding of aerodynamics. All those kinds of things. With a disc wheel, when is it better to use it? When is it not better to use it? How do I need to ride differently to maximise it? All those kinds of things. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do look pretty cool, and they make a cool noise, don't they? Yeah. But it's that kind of thing. I mean, let's take for example carbon trainers. I don't know what people, our listening audience is like, but how many people you see at parkrun? I mean, I went out yesterday. There's like a cycle route in Cheltenham. I was out there yesterday, and I saw 3 people running in carbon shoes. And I reckon they were running 6-minute Ks based on my estimate. Right? And I'm not belittling people running 6-minute Ks. If you're running 6-minute Ks, you don't. In fact, not only do you not need carbon shoes, you probably shouldn't be in them.
Yes.
It probably.
It's going to cause you more damage.
It's very unlikely that they're good for you. I don't run in carbon shoes, and I run. I've never done a park run properly, but I would estimate I would probably do a park run in about 17 minutes, maybe a little bit quicker. right? So, and I don't train in, and I very, very rarely race in carbon shoes because I know that they're bad for my feet, and I realise that me thinking I need them is just marketing.
Yeah.
And if I bought them and going, oh yeah, but they're more comfortable, I'm really just basically justifying my emotional decision with logic.
Yes.
So I think, okay, actually, hang on a minute, what do I really need to do here? Actually, this is what I need to do. That's my journey, and understanding that. And so when, as coaches, as a bike fitter and as a coach, and I'm a coach and all these things, it's really difficult because we get asked the wrong questions all the time by people, don't we?
Yeah,
all
the time.
Yeah, like, what bike do I need to be faster?
No one's ever asked me, how can I maximise my sleep opportunity to improve my performance and recovery?
Actually, that's not entirely. Some of our coaches, some of our more sophisticated coaches do,
like,
yeah.
In terms of no one ever looks at like really the boring stuff. So if someone's coming in for a bike fit,
yeah,
it's all about like the equipment, new bikes, and all of the other stuff. No one actually says, actually, do you know what? I really just need to focus on.
Yeah.
Like,
do you have any experience with how much difference sleeping well can make to performance? You know, like no one ever asked that, and we're not sleep experts, but we could signpost you to some resource.
Yes, really.
And it's all out there, but people just almost ignore it, don't they?
Yeah.
Because, it's really frustrating. Like I said, that's because everyone's looking at performance gains as being the thing that they think will fulfill them, and therefore looking for the most convenient or shortest route.
Yeah, quick fix.
So these are things I'd quite like to change. Can I find a reason to justify me doing these things to get to that performance goal that I think will validate me? So often that's buying new stuff, isn't it? You know, like I like buying new stuff. So if I buy this, I'd like to have a reason to buy this new stuff. And maybe if I buy the new stuff, I won't have to do the thing I don't really want to do to get to that performance goal. Whereas if we don't have the performance goal in the first place, if we just have the self-betterment goal and the growth goal, we won't worry about those kinds of things. We'll worry about the stuff that really does matter. But I think we're really bad at it. I think we're really bad at self-development. You know, I've just done a workshop in the last week or so, and I'm about to go back again for a business, a corporate company. It was really enjoyable, like really, really good bunch, really good group, great attitudes, really nice team dynamic. Not one of them made a note for the whole of the workshop.
Really?
Yeah, maybe one of them did. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell that they were. They bought their laptops. None of them opened them except one. I think that person was making some notes, but I'm not sure. And when I go back for the next workshop, we're going to start with them feeding back what they learned from the first one. I haven't sent them the slide deck deliberately because I know, because where they didn't take notes, I thought, right, I'm not going to send them the slide deck. And none of them have asked me for the slide deck. And from my perspective, that's not uncommon.
No.
That's not uncommon. We have awful learning behaviours and ownership behaviours because it's so normalised now. People don't think about it, do they? People are just lazy. I read a meme the other day. Oh, can someone share me a one-line inspirational quote that after reading will change my life forever? And that's the problem, isn't it?
Yes.
So we just, let's go back to the topic. We've got to get away from this chasing performance improvement all the time with the perception or expectation that it's going to change how we feel about ourselves, how much we enjoy our journeys, who we are to other people. And I tell you what, if someone's impressed by performance levels, they're probably not the right people, are they? And I understand why we often are. And do you know what? Sometimes performance is a representation of you nailing it. Look at Tom Brady. You know, like sometimes it is, right? Sometimes performance is a representation of someone's growth journey, but not all the time. And sometimes there's a lot of people out there that we idolise who are high performers that are absolute dickheads.
Yeah.
That isn't the word I wanted to use, but that's the word I'm going to use for today. The word I want to use begins with C, but it's true. And you know, when you're in sport, and as you move up through the levels of sport, you so often find out that the people you looked at that you thought were, oh, you know, look at that individual, I really aspire to be like them or them. Right, you know.
Actually.
Yeah, and there's just so much hypocrisy going around. You might have to edit this bit out. 50 minutes. I watched a video the other day about a very high performing female athlete talking about the pressure, the body image pressure for females in sport. Now, I've got to be careful what I say because I'm not a woman, and therefore, don't experience that same pressure. But in our sport, triathlon, that pressure is quite common across both sexes, both genders, isn't it? There's almost this perception you need to look a certain way. Just body dysmorphia is a real common problem in female athletes and male athletes. It's just that people don't comment on male athletes' appearance as much. And what was interesting is that this athlete was talking about the pressure to look a certain way, societal pressure to look a certain way, whilst covered in a full face of makeup. Now, I don't know about everybody else, I don't know about you, but I think there's a bit of irony there. Irony, hypocrisy, I don't know. But that don't feel right. Feels like they've missed the point a little bit there. I'm not a woman. You help me with this. Surely, the reason women wear makeup has got nothing to do with women. It's all to do with men's expectation. We are really going off on a tangent here. This might need to be edited out. But is it not the same? Is that if you're choosing to wear makeup as a woman, is that not?
I think high heels are a better example.
Are they? Okay.
Well, because they inflict so much pain.
Yeah, but isn't putting makeup on a pain?
Oh no!
I mean, I wear eyeliner once a year at a party.
You're
right?
probably talking to the wrong person.
Okay.
But in terms of
but why don't you wear makeup then?
Because I can't be bothered.
Because
I don't really feel like it adds much value. I feel quite happy with my skin's okay. I think my eyes look alright, and
I'm stopping you right there. Why does any of that matter anyway?
It doesn't at all.
Why does your decision that your skin and your eyes look okay without makeup define whether or not you should wear makeup?
It doesn't.
Exactly.
But I'm trying to not. I don't know. I'm not really too fussed about it. I've never been interested in it. I think that's been the thing. I've never been interested. I've always seen it as more faff and hassle than anything.
Yeah, because I get it. If you want to, I wear makeup.
Putting on I think putting on a pair of shoes if you're going out is probably a better example. Because when people go out, they often put heels on.
Yeah.
I've never ever heard any female say, I haven't hurt my feet. And that's the choice to inflict pain. That is to look a certain way.
And that's society's expectation. And let's be honest, that societal expectation is surely driven by male expectations historically. And the same goes with ladies having to feeling like makeup's a normal part of their journey. Again, I mean, by all means, challenge me on this because I could be completely wrong because I can't possibly know. But it feels like that's a perception of something that we think should happen that almost certainly has come from men's expectation of what women should look like. So women need to look a certain way. Therefore, that's not going to be every case, of course. Like I said, I wear eyeliner at our end of year party, and I do my nails. I haven't done them today actually, but normally I do my nails. And if I'm honest, it took a lot of courage for me to do my nails because and the eyeliner as well. Because the flip side is for a man, even though you might feel that's your own personal identity, which for me it feels like it is, I felt under pressure not to do that. So the opposite.
Yeah, I know.
So I felt under pressure not to paint my nails because I'm a man and not to wear eyeliner because I'm a man. And I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I was doing it for me to kind of express who I am as a person. And I just felt like I couldn't align those two things. A lady talking about the pressure of image expectation, but obviously making herself up to very specifically meet a certain expectation. That's what I felt.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's reassuring because, like I said, I don't want to get completely crucified by everybody. But I'm perfectly happy to learn about this. But I'm always I've got a lot of admiration for women that choose not to wear makeup. You don't. Lauren doesn't. Does she? And I really like that. And I like it when I see sports women choosing not to do that. Now, don't get me wrong, if they want to do it for them, that's fine, but it's hard to believe that so many women would choose to do that just for themselves. And I also have a lot of admiration for men that choose to do the reverse, choose to wear maybe some makeup or something that isn't normal for men to wear because they just feel it's a representation of who they are. And I like that. I like people to be individual, and it just feels like sometimes we choose to do certain things because we don't realise that we're even doing it for that sort of adherence, compliance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love the fact that you and Lauren don't wear makeup because you choose your haircut. I know I cut your hair,
But I have designed it.
Exactly. Like, this is how I want my hair to be. I don't give a fuck what people think about it. I know that Nat, our one of our coaches, like, felt that she'd been catfished because she thought that we were a very LGBTQT kind of in community based on your appearance.
Yes, she was very disappointed.
She was very disappointed. That wasn't the case. But you don't give a toss, do you? Because it's just, this is my haircut, this is what I want to look like, this is how I'm going to look, yeah? And I'm a little bit, so we've got the same haircut at the moment, sort of, haven't we?
Well, you copied me.
I did copy you a bit, actually. Well, yeah, but I also do the haircuts.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the inspiration.
You are the inspiration, yeah. And Lauren's the same. Lauren's like, no, this is how I'm going to look, this is how I'm going to dress, and that's what she does. And of course, we all adhere to fashion and brand image a little bit, don't we, sometimes?
Yeah.
But we still, I like having an individual look. You have an individual look. I think Passion Fit has an individual look, and that's for a reason.
In our brand new kit.
Yeah, we have got a brand new kit on today.
Champion Systems doing a cracking job.
Yeah. I think we often get drawn into these things without even knowing it's happening. And I just found that fascinating to watch that. I remember sitting there thinking, it's a bit odd this. You're talking about the pressure of that, and you've very clearly done something that's obviously conditioned into you to do through societal pressure.
For the exact same reason.
For the exact same reason. So it's no different. So it felt a bit like, hypocritical. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is. It is.
And do you know what? If that person's doing it to exploit male stupidity, great.
It's fair play.
Do you know what I mean? If they're doing it thinking, well, if I do this, then I can make more money from male-driven sponsors, for example, because the men are idiots. Fair play to you. That's great. I don't mind you exploiting men's stupidity, but if it's to try and make you feel better about yourself and what you look like because of those pressures, it feels a bit sad. What you said at the beginning, doesn't it?
No, you'll start crying in a sec.
I might start crying in a sec. And I, like I said, I know the reverse because I look a lot different from the way I used to look, and I only recently have started to understand who I am, what I want to look like, and how I want to present myself. Because I've spent most of my life I was quite effeminate as a young boy when I was like 7, 8, 9. And I know that my dad gave me quite a lot of shit for that, put me under quite a lot of pressure to be more macho. And then I ended up creating this false persona, really, for probably 2 decades that I'm now trying to break down a little bit. Because I am quite camp and effeminate, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
There needs to be more than just a strong yes on that.
And like, I need to embrace that for me. It doesn't make me less of a man, and even if it does, who cares? If it's me, isn't it? It just needs to be, it's not about making me less of something else, it's about making me more of me.
More of you, yeah,
isn't
exactly.
It? And that's the point, and understanding what that is. But it's hard. And hard to do.
Yes.
We all get drawn into it.
Yeah, we all do,
yeah.
Across every part, don't we?
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how we got onto that, but hopefully that bit's alright. Yeah, I hope that bit's alright. I don't know. You said it's okay, so I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright. So that's it, isn't it? That's today.
That is today. So
right.
Stop worrying about your PVs.
Stop worrying about what you look like.
Stop worrying about who you're going to be.
No, don't stop worrying about you look.
Well, no, but
don't not worry about your performance, and don't not worry about what you look like, because you need to take pride in you, but don't do it for other people, isn't it? I think that's the message: is genuinely work out what's going to make you fulfilled, and make you have that right sense of identity, and then strive towards that.
Who do you want to be?
Yeah, don't get duped.
No.
Okay.
Right. And if
you can wrap up.
Thank you. If you've enjoyed that podcast, please do remember to
and YouTube video.
Like, subscribe, and share to both the channels.
Yeah.
It does make a huge difference, and we always super appreciate it. So yeah, it takes 2 seconds and can make a massive difference to us, which then in turn helps us to help more of you guys.
Cool. All right. Thanks very much, guys. Dog walk time and lunchtime.
Lunch.
Okay.
Dogs.
Bye. See you soon.